Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will be learning Annex A Control 5.11 Return of Assets. So let's get started. ISO 27001 is very particular about how the assets should be managed. One of the reasons being your assets process the information, store the information, and you use those information to perform your day-to-day tasks, which is mostly confidential information related to the organization. ISO is very particular about returning the assets once the employee either leaves the organization or if he's moving out to a different team as well. Even at that point of time, it talks about returning the assets. But then that can be subjective, like the laptop, he doesn't have to return. But then inside the laptop, maybe there are certain applications, certain tools which he does not require access anymore. Those needs to be returned. When we say return, it is removal of access for that matter. An asset can be anything. It can be a physical device, information related documents, physical papers, those can be also an asset. And of course, your digital applications can also be an asset. When it says assets, it includes everything. Why? Why is this control so important that, it has specifically called out about returning the assets? Because if your assets are not returned, there may be chances of data leakage, any financial losses, anyone can get unauthorized access, your intellectual property theft, and of course, compliance violation is one of the reasons. These are the different types of assets. It could be laptop, mobile devices, your USB devices, even your access card. That is also an asset. Company uniform. Sometimes we may forget, especially when you're working for manufacturing industries or when you're working for plants, right? Big project plants at that point of time they have specific uniform for specific sections also. Even those needs to be returned because it'll have the company logo and things like that. So yes, these are the physical assets, then the digital assets. So it's always better for the organization to keep a track of all the assets that they are allocating to the user. You might have seen that whenever you take an asset from the organization, you have to sign the papers, you have to confirm over the email. And then information assets, right? Any printed confidential documents, like when you grow higher in the organization, there are so many documents that will be printed and physically signed as well. Your business plans, your design documents, your financial reports that you submit, all these things are very confidential. These should be handled in a very particular manner. Let's see what the control says that. The control clearly says personal and other interested parties. That means whether it is the employee or any third party, whoever is the interested party. Sometimes you give assets to your third parties also, you give assets to your clients as well. Whoever it is, if that person is working for your organization, then you have to make sure that this control is applied to that particular person. A personal or other interested parties, as appropriate, should return all the organization's asset in their possession upon change or termination. See, whether there is a change or termination of their employment, contract, or agreement. Whether there is a change or termination of the employment, any contract or agreement, that person or the interested party should return their assets back to the organization. Whatever they have been assigned to, they have to return it. Next is, what is the purpose? Why does ISO wants to specifically call this? Just the answer is very simple: to protect the organization's asset as part of the process of changing or terminating employment, contract, or agreement. It's only to make sure that you protect your organization's information and assets. Because if you give away, who knows, they might use this system for performing any malicious activity as well. Who knows that the information that they have stored in their system can be used against your organization to create any malicious activities. So it's always better, and it specifically calls out that all the assets must be returned. just to protect the organization's asset. That is the whole purpose. And this clause is very simple, very straightforward, and it has very minimal requirements as well. See, what are the guidance it says? It says that the change or termination process should be formalized to include the return of all previously issued physical and electronical assets. What does it mean, electronical assets? It means the digital assets. Any access to the systems, to the clouds, or any specific application, for example, your payroll application, for example, your cloud subscriptions, whatever, owned by or entrusted to the organization, whichever is owned by the organization, those assets, whether it is physical or electronical assets, it says that you should have a proper process and it should be a formal process. It specifically talks about formalizing a process. As we all know that ISO is very heavy on documentation. So it says that you document everything. You'd have a formal process and document everything of how the complete process of returning the assets should happen. Cases where personal or and other interested parties purchase the organization's equipment. Sometimes what happens, these third parties or any persons will say, okay, can I take this device for myself? I will pay you the amount. There are situations in small organizations this happens. In those situations, or BYOD, bring your own device. In those situations also, you should have a proper procedure. A proper procedure should be followed. Procedures should be followed to ensure all the relevant information is traced and transferred to the organization and securely deleted from the equipment. Okay, there are two conditions here, right? When you're bringing your own device and when the person says that they will buy this device from the organization, purchase this device buy from organization. There are two conditions here. If it is bring your own device, then make sure that you have proper policies in place. You have a proper procedure documented saying, okay, whenever there is a bring your own device, what are the softwares that you're going to install on this device, which is bought by the person to the work of the organization? Are you allowing this device to connect to your company Wi-Fi? Or are you segregating and giving them a different network altogether? Sometimes, they give guest accounts to all these bring your own devices because they don't give our enterprise Wi-Fi credentials to them. They say strictly not to log in to the enterprise Wi-Fi. What is the procedure that you're following? And whenever there's a bring your own device, they usually allow these devices to install a particular app so that you can wipe out the device in case we find out that there is some breaches this device has done. Like this, every company will have their own policies. The IT team will be able to give you more information about how they are handling the bring your own devices. In that case, have the team document a different procedure for them altogether. Ask them, okay, what is the bring your own device policy that you have? How are you ensuring that this is not, violating the policies? It is securely being used. But even if they are using it, and when the person is leaving the organization, for that matter, during the termination or any changes in his role, how are you making sure that no information is existing on this device anymore? So whatever is the case, whether they are bringing their own device or they're buying the device from the organization. Okay, sometimes the people will say in small organizations this happen. Can we take this device? We'll pay you this much of amount. I want this laptop. Can I pay you back? If you have that policy, most of the organization they say no. You have to return the assets. But at times, small organizations they give away their devices. I have seen such cases in my experience. At that point of time, do you have the right process in place? Are you wiping out the device completely? Are you reformatting the device and giving it to them? So all those processes, are they correctly followed? Are they documented? First of all, it has to be documented. Okay. And secondly, it has to be followed. Not just documentation is not enough. It has to be documented and they have to provide artifacts saying that it has been followed correctly. So these two things. That is what it says. In cases where personal and other interested parties purchase the organization equipments or use their own personal equipments, procedures should be followed to ensure that all relevant information is traced and transferred to the organization and securely deleted from the equipment. Even if they are giving, you are allowing the employees to bring your own devices, is this being monitored for any unauthorized accesses, or are the security logs monitored? This is something that you have to see. Are you tracing the device after they leave the organization? Whatever information is stored even on this device, is it being transferred and is it being securely deleted? That is what you have to see. In cases where personnel and other interested parties have knowledge, that is important to ongoing operations. Let's take a very simple example that this person is working on some design documents, or working on any architecture of any new project. Okay, and half the way he decides to leave the organization and he resigns for whatever reason. Maybe he got a better opportunity. Now, the architectural design, most of the time, will be in his mind, right? 90% of the time, it is his baby, right? He will design. Okay, he will know the in and out of the network. So, if he is playing a very crucial role in the organization, then he knows the in and out of the network and he has designed the network. But half of the way he decides to leave, then you have to make sure that this person has given proper knowledge transfer and he has documented everything. His knowledge, that's what it says. See, in cases where person and other interested parties have knowledge, that is important. See, he knows 90% of things, how it is getting operated. And half of the way he lives without, even documenting what he knows, then imagine what the condition will be there, right? So even that is an asset. The knowledge also is an asset. That is what ISO says. In cases where person and other interested parties have knowledge that is important to the ongoing operations, that information should be documented and transferred to the organization. ISO says even that is an asset. Before the organization lets go this person, they have to ask him, have you done all the documentation? Verify whether he has given proper handover, document everything, because knowledge is also an asset. During the notice period and thereafter, the organization should prevent unauthorized copying of relevant information in the notice period or during his operations also. Okay, they should not transfer any unauthorized copies of any intellectual properties or any process document or any architectural document. Nothing, they should take it away from the organization. That's the reason why all these Gmails and all these things, personal email IDs, all will be blocked, because, and even your USB drives will be blocked so that they can't transfer any information from this particular organization. So make sure that you see whether all these conditions, all these processes are in place or not. Is USB disabled? Are the personal email accounts disabled? Can even if they can do browsing, but will the DLP catch any transfer of information which is confidential? You should have DLPs, proper DLPs in place with proper policies. The organization should clearly identify and document all information and other associated assets to be returned. Okay, it has to say this is the asset that has been assigned to you, and you have to return it during your termination. So it has to clearly identify. Now, see, people will think ID card is not an asset. For a long time, people thought ID card is not an asset, and they used to take away the ID card. And then managers used to call them back saying, boss, come back and return your ID card. They were not doing. So you have to give them the awareness that whatever has been assigned to you is the asset to the organization, and have a checklist. If you're not a big organization, then document everything. It could be an endpoint device, portable storage devices like USB, cables, extra monitor that your organization gives, your headsets, okay, specialized equipments. Sometimes, I have seen organizations where they work for labs, okay, And to do the testing, they get a lot of special equipments to do the testing. And they have a mini lab at home also, where they test certain things during odd working hours. So those kind of devices also you have to make sure you document everything with the serial number and ask them to return and make them aware that, even this is an asset. These are all the assets that are assigned to you. Take a confirmation over the email. When you're auditing, check for these documents. Has the user submitted all the documents that are assigned to one particular user? Are those being documented? And when he's leaving the organization, check whether all those things were submitted. So those artifacts you can look for. Authentication hardware. Back then, when these software authentications were not there, we used to have physical tokens. I think even now, few of the tools use these RSA tokens, any mechanical keys. And when you're working for a banking organization, you have keys for lockers, you have keys for special sections of the bank, of information system, sites, physical archives. These are the physical things, but your your digital keys are also assets. It can be difficult to return information held on assets which are not owned by the organization. Like these days, we have our phones, right? We use our email on the phone, we use our Teams on the phone, but this phone does not belong to our organization, right? It belongs to us. So, in those situations, it is really challenging for the organization of how to handle these kind of information which is held on the phone or any other device for that matter. So, it is necessary to restrict the use of information. In those cases, what you can do, access control is the best mechanism. Once they leave the organization, automatically they should not be able to log into their Outlook over the phone. They should not be able to log into any of the portals from their phone. That should be very nicely access restricted. Using other information security tools such as access rights management or cryptography, once they leave the organization, all their device should, whatever applications that they were using, should be encrypted and they should no more have access. These are the things that ISO clearly mentions how you need to make sure that the employees return and what are the procedures that you need to follow. What you could do as an implementer is ask the team to either use a tool or prepare a checklist. So this becomes an artifact that you are following the process. Second, ask them to have a return policy or a procedure documented. Okay, this is your second implementation step. First implementation, ask them to prepare a checklist and keep it handy so that every employee, whatever assets is being given, have it documented. If not a checklist, yeah, ask them, is it being traced in any of the application? Second, use a return policy. Third, make the team prepared for any of the artifacts. Say it should be matching. Now, if your return policy says that within one business day or the same day for that matter, his account will be deactivated. If you mention this in your policy, then the artifact should show that this was his last working day. And on this date, his account was deactivated. They will ask you to show in the tool, they will ask you to show me the date when the account was deactivated. Like this, the auditor will cross verify. This was his last working day, and this was the date when his account was deactivated. If you become an auditor, you have to verify it like this. But when you're doing implementation work, prepare the team. See, this is what will be asked. So make sure whenever the organization leaves, as per your policy, you're saying one business day. So please make sure it is deactivated, or else this will come as a finding. This way, prepare the team. Now, what are the common audit non-conformatives? No document or assets return process. They don't have any documented process. Assets not returned upon termination. Lack of evidence of asset return. You should have evidences saying that the asset has been returned. Maybe it should be a confirmation from the email, or it should be documented from the IT manager saying, okay, this person has returned all the assets. In when you resign, Every department will send you an email. Okay, have you returned the assets? Then you say, okay, yes, I have returned the assets. Then the manager will acknowledge, yes, I have received all the assets. Then it is a clearance from IT team. Then the HR team will come. You have to take the clearance from the HR team. If your organization gives access to library, even the library team has to give a confirmation. Like this, every team gives the acknowledgement saying that, yes, he has returned the assets. So those can also be an evidence. So if there are no such evidences, that becomes a non-confirmative. Failure to revoke access or assets, user accounts, VPN accounts, cloud access, authentication tokens, they still remain active even after termination. If such thing happens, then that is a non-confirmative. Contractors, consultants. See, this is most of the time this will be neglected. Okay, we concentrate so much on our employees that we forget that contractors, consultants, vendors, temporary staffs, we just ignore them or we just forget to include them. But actually, they can be the weakest point as well. So make sure that even they are included from the process of returning of the assets. No process or recovering equipment from remote employees. Some organization has remote employees. They work permanently from work from home or they're working from other countries as well. So if you're not covering them, even that becomes a non-confirmative. Devices are not securely returned or wiped out before shipment. This is important. Whenever you ship a new device to a new employee, make sure it is completely wiped out. It is reformatted and then given to the employee. You cannot take this laptop and directly give to another employee. That should not happen. So, is that being followed by your IT team? You have to check that as well. Printed documents, confidential files, software licenses, cryptographic tokens, organizational data are not recovered. So if you're giving any printed documents, make sure that it is being taken back. Any licenses, any confidential files, all those things are recovered upon termination. What are the minor non-conformities? The organization has documented employee exit procedure. However, the evidences of assets return forms are not available. During audit, what happens? Sampling happens. You know what is sampling? Sampling is like picking two or three incidents and then verifying them. Say, I am an auditor. I come and say, okay, can you show me your return policy? Then you will show. Okay, can you show me one person who left the organization? He'll give me his ID. Then I'll ask, okay, can you show me when his account was deactivated? Can you show me when was his last working day? Like this, I will verify last working day when that assets were returned. I'll take 2 to 3 samples. So in this 2 to 3 samples, only if you are missing out, if you're not providing the right evidences, then this becomes a minor non-conformatives. Why the sampling works is like when you cook rice, right? You don't see every bit of rice is cooked or not. We'll just pick 1 or 2 grains of rice and see whether it is cooked properly or not, right? Something like that. The same technique is used here. They will do sampling. Once you do sampling, you will at least get an idea whether they are properly following or not. Obviously, there is probability. It's all about luck also at times, but this is what they also don't have the time to completely check all the 50, 60 employees which have left the organization. Then this audit will like go for so many years. So don't do that. That's the reason why we do sampling. What are the major non-conformatives? The organization lacks a formal process for recovery of organizational assets. That means what? Process document itself is missing and could not demonstrate that the assets or access rights are recovered upon termination. If you're not able to provide the artifacts and your process document itself is missing, then that becomes a major non-conformative. What are the evidences that auditors look for? Asset return procedure or policy, employee contract of boarding checklist, asset assignment, asset inventory records. Whenever the asset was assigned, I told you, right? You can prepare a checklist. That can be an artifact. Signed asset return forms or emails. Back then it was forms, but now it is emails. Or maybe the tool where it says, okay, it has been returned. Once you return all the assets to the organization, the person who's responsible, he will acknowledge in the tool and he will close the ticket. This will be created when you are getting terminated or when you're in a notice period. And once you return all the assets, the tickets will be closed. So that ticket also can be an artifact for you. That's okay. Records of account deactivation and access removal, HR termination records linked to asset recovery activities. As I said, link how when the HR has terminated it and when the access was revoked. So these things you can check. Thank you for watching, and let's see you in the next video. Bye bye.